Of course, the obvious thing for most of us is to not believe Eskom and the reasons and to call them excuses. Let's get some clarity on this. I'm joined now on the line by the author of Blackout, the Eskom Crisis. That's James Brent Stein. James, good evening and thanks so much for your time. So your book, Blackout, the Eskom Crisis, did you predict that this is where we would be?
Well, sadly, the book came out 2015. That's 4 years ago. And sadly, at the time, some of my sources within Eskom said that it was a likely scenario. Certain things weren't addressed. And sadly, not only were they not addressed, things have certainly gotten much worse. The further reality is that Stage 6 might still be pale in comparison to what might lie ahead. It seems at the moment we've got a headless chicken and nobody seems to be knowing which way it's going to be running next. We don't know where the problems are. Eskom has identified. They've just said earlier today Stage 4 was due to Stage 4 load shedding that we've been hit with recently over the weekend and such, was due to 14,200 megawatts of power that tripped, unplanned outages. Now today they say Medupi is down. That's another 4,800 megawatts. So essentially you're talking about 19,000 megawatts of Eskom's installed 44,000. So about half of all Eskom's power plants aren't working. It's quite ludicrous, actually, and we don't know where exactly the problem is. We don't know where the president is. The leadership in the country is not available. It's massively concerning. We're talking about areas that are going to be cut up to 5 hours in the middle of the day. I mean, can you imagine? That's catastrophic to small businesses, shopping centers, anybody trying to get anything done. You're going to be cut tomorrow if we're still at Stage 6, up to 5 hours in the middle of the day.
So just what's the worst that can happen? How bad can this actually get for the ordinary consumer?
Well, look, there's one good thing for load shedding. There's one very good reason. And we have to say thank you, Eskom, that you're so good at load shedding. Because the point of load shedding is to prevent a blackout, a grid collapse. If we have a blackout, that means basically like the main switch in your house that trips and your house has no power. So if the grid isn't balanced properly, if there's too much demand and Eskom isn't kicking out enough power, then the grid can collapse. And we could see no power in the country, no electricity for between a month and 2 months. And that would be catastrophic. We're talking apocalyptic, and I can't stress it out deeply enough. So Eskom cuts the load to prevent a blackout. So that's the only good news that we've got. But it's potentially at the moment, given all the rain that you've got up north, we could see up to Stage 8, which would mean 8,000 megawatts. It would mean 50% of the country cut off at one stage.
And that's something we can ill afford at this time of the year as well. I mean, we depend on December to bring in the money, bring in the visitors as well there, James. So, I mean, a lot of skepticism, we have a lot of eye rolling going on, wondering whether we actually believe the reasons. Could we really be blaming the weather in all of this time? Surely they keep an eye on the weather. They watch the forecast like we do to see where the rain is going to be coming or where the rain is going to be falling. And then Medupi, I mean, that's really been, something that has irritated us for the longest time, the situation at Medupi. Do we believe them at this point that this is the reason, given, yes, just how badly managed Eskom and power stations have been for many, many years now?
What do we know what to believe anymore, Yuvek? Honestly, our president visited Medupi just a week or two ago and released a statement last night saying what a wonderful project it is. Frankly, I'm very skeptical, but just bear in mind, Medupi is the brand spanking new power station, 4,800 megawatts. It's not fully completed yet, but it's largely completed. It's taken 12 years to get here. It's basically one of the reasons Eskom is completely bankrupt, because Medupi's cost went up from about 90 billion to plus in excess of 200 billion, and it's not working. The same with Kusile, which should have been completely completed by 2018, now only projected to be done by 2022. Another power station that went from 70 billion to 250 billion plus. I mean, and these things aren't working. Then we've got the old ones that seem to be collapsing all around the place at the moment. We don't, there's no real leadership. Eskom has had 12 CEOs now in the past 10 years, 6 different boards. Imagine you're a family and the head of the family, you've got 10 different heads of families in a 10-year period. It's completely unstable. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what's going on. It's very problematic.
And we often just say, well, just shut these things down when we talk about Medupi and Kusile. Would that be the answer to our problems, though?
I think it's too late for that. Those projects are probably 80 to 90% completed. What's worrying me is they're not working, especially now Madupi's gone down. I think that the money's been spent. Eskom is 450 billion rand in debt due to these two massive projects. And it's going to have huge repercussions for us moving forward. We're going to see tariff increases skyrocket because there's simply no other way with barring bailouts. So we can only expect further bailouts and massive tariff increases moving forward to pay for an unreliable electricity system. That's the fact. Frankly, it's time to do a thorough audit. It's time to see why those costs escalated so much. It's time to say we need proper accountability. We've never really had it. We haven't seen a regular audit of the 140-odd generating units. It's a basic thing. There's about 140 units. What is the condition of those units? Are the people that know how to manage and maintain those units there? How many engineers are there at Eskom? There's 48,000 employees. How many of them know how to actually manage and maintain and run a power station? We've never seen those numbers. And frankly, our economy can't... We're certainly heading for a recession now. I don't want to be alarmist, but there's no way that the economy can go from 0.5% growth at the moment and we expect it to grow. We're certainly facing junk status. The credit ratings agency is the last one to look to even, have us just still in some form of investment grade. Is certainly not going to take this very kindly. And the fact that we're not seeing the leadership that we need, we're not seeing the direction that we need, we're not seeing clear answers coming through at all. I mean, we've been hit with stage 4 since last week.
Yes.
Stage 4 is massively concerning, and boom, now we're hit out of the blue with stage 6, and there's no end in sight, frankly. So I'm quite concerned.
All right, it may not be a blackout, but it's dark days ahead. Thank you very much for that. That's the author of Blackout, the Eskom Crisis. That's James Brentstein, predicting that this is where we would be back in 2015. And yes, we could go up to stage 8 if need be, but let's cross our fingers we do not get to a blackout stage, because we can ill afford that, Devin Murugan. And we're going to be discussing now just what impact this actually has on our economy. As you heard James say, that this doesn't look good for those who are watching us. It doesn't look good for investment. It doesn't look good for where we're going to go next in terms of those ratings agencies. The last thing this economy actually needs.